Sean Pelfrey. I was born in McAllen, Texas, 1983.
How old were you when the attacks took place?
I was 18.
Where and what were you doing?
I was at Texas A&M, and I just got out of calculus.
How did you find out about the attacks?
I was coming back from the dorm, from my class, and I had to go back to the dorms, and a sophomore ran up to me and said, "Get in the room right now." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "You have to see this." Okay. So he had a huge big screen TV in a very, very small dorm room. I remember that. And it barely fit. And I watched the first plane hit, and it was just nuts. It was just crazy.
When did you realize there was a terrorist attack?
Well, the news was already spouting off about possible terrorist attacks and all that stuff. So the hearsay was already going on. So it was already on the news. The interesting point that I found was like the world knew about it, I want to say, after about 30 seconds. So that was crazy. And it was already kind of linked to terrorism.
What emotions and thoughts were going through your mind as you learned about the attacks?
I was more worried about this sucky situation that the people in the building and those planes were going through. As far as myself, it didn't have anything really to do with me.
Were you afraid of your safety and the safety of your family?
No, not at all. None of my family was near anywhere there.
What is your most vivid memory of that day?
I guess my feeling of just disbelief. Did that really, really happen? Is this really happening, or is this a movie? And just the replays and the replays and the replays of the planes hitting those buildings was crazy.
How did the nation react to the attacks?
The nation went nuts. And I don't know if it was for the better. Everything started getting locked down. We had these crazy codes like it's a green level terrorism attack day or a orange level, and nobody knew what the hell green, blue, or orange meant. But everybody would say there's a level, orange, green level, and we were like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean a plane's going to hit the school? I don't know. So the world went crazy, and just sort of fake pre-warnings were abound.
Do you agree with the decision to invade Afghanistan after the attacks?
Well, at the time, shooting from the hip, I think that's kind of what everybody wanted. Everybody wants something to happen, some consequence for these actions to happen. But hindsight's 2020. It didn't really fix too much. So yes and no.
Do you believe the government has done enough to keep us safe from the terrorism today?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, no. For one, when we did decide to invade Iraq, we went into something that could never be finished. But my theory on the matter is if you're going to do something, you better finish it. And I don't think the government finished their job in Iraq. Because when Obama came around, a year, I don't even know how many years ago, it was like maybe 2-3 years ago, he decided to pull our troops out of Iraq. And now we're finding out that that was the biggest mistake that we could do.
Has the September 11 attacks changed you?
No, not at all. Like as far as the stereotypical American, like not liking Muslims or anything like that, no, I've not changed in any real way. If anything, it's opened me up a bit to Muslim culture, right? And what they can stand for and what they do stand for as a majority.
How did the September 11 attacks change our country and the world?
Well, I mean, here's a fun one. Watch Home Alone every Christmas and watch how the McAllisters get on the plane, and then compare that to how we get on planes now. They really changed all these horrible sort of restrictions about what you can and can't have on a plane, and it gets really annoying. And you would think because we put all these restrictions, it would make the world better, but it doesn't. It just makes it a bit more. It gives you a bit more hassles. But the interesting paradox that I see with this is we got an attack from the from Al Qaeda, or and it affected everybody. And the government took a stand, and they now make it very difficult to get on a plane. You have to get there an hour before. You have to do all that. And thus far, it's doing okay, right? There are very good restrictions. We haven't had another similar attack like that for some time, with the exception of the gentleman that put a bomb in his underwear, right? But still, it didn't happen. And I just don't understand where the government comes along with saying, okay, a terrorist attack, we're going to put all these restrictions, we're going to do something about it. But they continually have all these horrible gun violence tragedies where a kid runs into a school with a gun, yet the government's doing no restrictions on any sort of legislation or rule to help fix that problem with guns. So you would think from the terrorist attack we would learn to put a bit more restrictions on things that actually affect our sovereignty, but it doesn't, and that's it.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your time. Towards this interview is that 9/11 changed people's lives. It also depends on the age you were. For example, if you were a teenager, you would have understand, not quite as much as an adult, but you would have these sort of types of feelings. As much as if you were a child, you actually wouldn't remember. You would have really not cared, if that was the word, cared of the situation. You wouldn't understand as much. But as you grow older, obviously your parents, your family members would explain to you the different situations they lived. I think this is why the interview was a good idea, because we didn't have the capacity, because we were too young to understand what was going on, and I think this was the main goal of the interview.